From these things, it is already somewhat clear that God had an infallible knowledge of singular contingencies from eternity, and yet they do not cease to be contingencies. For what is contingent does not contradict the certainty of knowledge except according to what is to come, but not according to what is present. For the contingent, when it is future, may not be, and thus the knowledge of the estimator may be mistaken for the future itself. For he will be mistaken if what he estimated would not be the case. But since it is present, it cannot not be for that time. But it cannot be in the future, but this no longer pertains to the contingent as it is present, but as it will be future. Hence no sense of certainty is lost when one sees a man running, although this was said contingently. Therefore, all the knowledge that is presented above as contingent as it is present can be certain. But the divine intellect's insight from eternity is carried into each one of those things which are carried out in the course of time as it is present, as was shown above. Again, the contingent differs from the necessary in that each thing is in its own cause, for the contingent is in such a way that it cannot be from it and be. But it cannot be necessary except from its own cause. According to the fact that both of them are in themselves, it does not differ as to being on which truth is founded, because in the contingent, according to what is in itself, there is neither being nor non-being, but only being, although in the future the contingent may not be. But the divine intellect from eternity knows things not only according to the being they have in their causes, but also according to the being they have in themselves. Nothing therefore prevents him from having an eternal and infallible knowledge of contingent things. Further, as from a necessary cause an effect follows with certainty, so from a contingent cause it is complete if it is not hindered. But since God knows all things, as is clear from what has been said above, he knows not only the causes of contingent things, but also those by which they can be prevented. He therefore knows by certainty whether they are contingencies or not. Still, the effect does not exceed the perfection of its cause, but sometimes falls short of it. Hence, when knowledge is caused in us from things, it sometimes happens that we do not know what is necessary by means of necessity, but of probability. But just as with us things are the cause of knowledge, so divine knowledge is the cause of things known. Nothing, then, prevents the existence of those contingencies in themselves, of which God has necessary knowledge. In addition, an effect cannot be necessary whose cause is contingent. For it would be contingent that the effect were a remote cause, but the effect of the last cause is both proximate and remote. If, therefore, the contingency is proximate, its effect must be contingent, even if the remote cause is necessary, just as plants do not necessarily produce fruit, although the movement of the sun is necessary, because of contingent intermediate causes. Now the knowledge of God, though it be the cause of things known through it, is nevertheless a remote cause. Therefore, the contingency of the knowers is not inconsistent with its necessity, when it happens that the intermediate causes are contingent. Again, God's knowledge would not be true and perfect if things did not happen in this way as God knows them to happen. But God, since he is the knower of all being, of which he is the principle, knows each effect not only in itself, but also in order to any of its causes. Now the order of contingents is proximate to their causes, so that they proceed contingently from them. Therefore God knows that certain things happen and happen contingently. Thus then the certainty and truth of divine knowledge does not remove the contingency of things. It is clear therefore from what has been said how the objection challenging the knowledge of contingent things in God is to be rejected. For the variation of the latter does not introduce variation into the former, when it happens that from the necessary causes the first effects proceed contingent on the last. But the things known by God are not prior to his knowledge, as it is with us, but they are posterior. It does not follow, therefore, if that which is known by God can be varied, that his knowledge can be falsified or varied in any way. In the second consequence, then, we shall be deceived if, because our knowledge of variable things is variable, it is thought that this necessarily happens in all knowledge. Again, when it is said, God knows or has known this future, a certain medium is taken between divine knowledge and the thing known, namely, the time in which the utterance is, with respect to which that which is said to be known by God is the future. But there is no future with respect to divine knowledge, which, existing in the moment of eternity, has a present relationship to all things, in respect of which, if the time of speech is withdrawn from the middle, it is not to be said that this is known as if it did not exist, so that there is room for the question asking whether it cannot be. But it is said to be known by God as already seen in its existence. Having put this in place, there remains no room for the aforesaid question, because what already is cannot, as far as it is present, not be. The deception therefore occurs from the fact that the time in which we speak coexists with eternity, or even the past time, which is denoted when we say God knew. Hence the relationship of the past or present time to the future is attributed to eternity, which does not belong to it at all. And from this happens the second accident of being mistaken. Further, if everything is known by God as seen in the present, it will be necessary that God knows, just as it is necessary for Socrates to sit, because he appears to be sitting. Now this is not necessary absolutely, or as some say, by the necessity of the consequence, but under the condition or necessity of the consequence. For this condition is necessary. If it seems to sit, it sits. Hence, even if the conditional is transferred into the categorical, so that it may be said that what seems to sit must necessarily sit, it is clear that it is true when understood and composed of the said, of the matter as understood and divided, to be false. And so in these and in all similar things which are argued against the knowledge of God concerning contingencies, they fall into error according to composition and division. Now that God knows future contingencies is also shown by the authority of the sacred scriptures, for it is called wisdom. 8 about divine wisdom. He knows signs and wonders before they happen, and the events of times and ages, and wisdom. 39:24. There is nothing hidden from his eyes. He looks from age to age. And Isaiah 48:5. I foretold you from that time. Before they came, I told you.